So the summary of the first paragraph of Eis Aleph is that Zeis Chukas HaTorah goes not only on mitzvahs, but even on Torah itself. As mitzvahs are in Torah, and even though Torah by definition is understanding, nonetheless, Chukah Chakakti Gzeira Gazaradi, it's a statute, a decree, and you have no permission, laharer, to inquire about it, even as it is in Torah. Because it's higher, that mitzvahs are higher than Seichel and Havana, even as they are drawn into Torah. They still remain b'pnimi as higher than Seichel. Even as the Rotzen is drawn into Ishtalshalus, Chochma, Bina, it doesn't become compromised and then turns into something rational. The Rotzen remains the Rotzen, but it's enclosed, it's dressed, as it were, in Seichel. But the Pnimius remains L'mayim and Seichel. Then we have to understand how is the Tara of Tumas Mes of all things Paraduma, because Paraduma is all about Gvura, red. It comes from the left side, Smoil. Gvuras, Kashas, difficult Gvuras, Beyoser, extremely difficult Gvuras. And yeah, that's the way that the Tara from Mes. Implicit in the question is that the end of death is the ultimate gevura, the ultimate restraint, the ultimate withdrawal. So how is something which itself is all gevura and very severely so, the antidote to Tumas Mes? That's the shaila, the second question. To understand this, he introduced the Tzemach Tzedek's beer, based on the Medrash, Vayachal Moishe, and Moishe entreated God for the forgiveness of the ha'tשכ, which brought death to the world again. That's why he's talking about this. So the Medrash explains Vayachal is an unusual term of tefillah, and it's loshen mesikos, sweetness. And the Medrash goes on to tell the story. When Moshe Rabbeinu learned this, Hashem taught it to him when they came to Morah. And the Jews called it Morah because the waters were bitter. And Moshe wondered in his heart, why would God make such a thing? And God tells him, what does he tell him? Don't say so, don't think so. Leitoimar kain. They are my works. Did I make something in my world for naught? I'll tell you what you should say, says the Eibishter to Moshe. Say as follows. Say to me, make the bitter sweet. That's why the bitter is there, that it should invoke you to entreat me to make it sweet. And that's what Moshe Rabbeinu did. This is what the Medrash says. We see this in the Pasuk. Vayereyo, he instructed him with respect to the branch that he cast into the water, not simply showed him the branch. It's missing an aleph. Vayereyo lashon limud, as in the word Torah, hayirah. And he did that by the ha'tשכ, hence Vayachal Moishe. And he turned to God and said, didn't you teach us to me? Heal them, sweeten them. And in this way, as we learned in the previous Maimah, Lulei Moshe, without for Moshe, they would have been destroyed. He invoked the inyan of transforming bitterness to sweetness. Mamshir b'Maimah Gimel, it's again. The Tzemach continues in the Maimah. Quoting a Zohar that's brought in Tanya, in explaining the difference between the lower level of the tzaddik and the higher level of the tzaddik, tzaddik sheina gomer and tzaddik gomer. So he brings there, and this is the level of the tzaddik gomer. Ma min choin, those from amongst you. This is when Rabbi Loza wanted to ascend to the chamber of Rabbi Shimba Yochai, his father. So the Zohar said it's not open to everybody. Those amongst you who transform darkness to light and the taste of bitterness to sweetness. So if till that isn't done, then they do not approach here. But this is the whole Avodah, which is divided into these two inyonim of dark to light and sweet and bitterness to sweet. I'm just going to say it by heart. And that's Havaya and Elikim. Havaya is, there's these two levels of dark and light. He starts to explain that first. Light is Giloi, dark is concealment. So this is in all levels, including the Shemus of Hashem, and that's Havaya and Elikim. As the pasuk itself says that Hashem Havaya is compared to the sun, and Shem Elikim to the sheath around the sun. And Shem Elikim is Gematria Teva. Shem Elikim appears in the plural construct, implying division because of concealment. And hence Bereshis Balikim, because creation is such that the creator is hidden from the created. Now we just started again, no, we said that already. So this answers also why the Lashon in describing creation used by Chazal, it's a Lashon by the Rishonim, it's Yesh Me'ayin. Why would Torah refer to it as something from nothing? What from nothing? It's from the Eibishter. What kind of from nothing? On the contrary, the created being is the nothing, because he only comes from mitzvah motzeh. It really should be ayin from yesh, if anything. So why do you call it yesh ma'ayin? But as we're saying, because creation is such, through Shem Elikim, Bereshis Bara Elikim, and the creator is hidden, and therefore we refer to the creator as no thing, because we cannot grasp him or even feel him, and we have to bring rayas and proofs that the fact that there is a creator. That's what we're up to, the number 30 in the text. So therefore, so what's the whole Avodah? What's Avodah? To transform the darkness into light. The whole Avodah is to reveal in the world Shem Havaya. And as a consequence, the world will sense and feel and experience that what is the whole reality of the created being, not something other, but godliness. Amdom, however, in the movement that understood, it would appear. How can we bring godly light and reveal godly revelation in the world? The reality is God created in such a way that he's concealed. And he's the creator. So that's now the reality. How do we change that? How can we change it? How can we change reality? As the expression is, it is what it is. Or as Jews often say, what can you do? That's a legitimate question. What can you do? You can't change reality. The answer is absolutely. It's true, the world was created, taken away, Bereshis Bara Elikim Helen Vehestet, but it didn't end there. Then the purpose or the completion of creation was when B'Yom HaShishi L'Maaseh Bereshis, on the sixth day of creation, where Hashem introduced something into the world, and who's that? You and me. Then Adam Rishon was created. Miyad Lachal Nivroim, on the day of his creation, which is why we say this tonight. We begin Kabbalah Shabbos with the words that Adam Rishon said on the day that he was created and called upon all of creation to bow before Hashem. Come, let us bow down and bend our knees before God, our Maker. So the revolution, the change begins right there with the creation of man. Adam Arishan Paul Gila Likus Ba'ilam, Adam Arishan affected immediately. The Medrash actually says that the creatures of the world were bowed down to Adam Arishan, recognizing his superiority, and thought he was God. And he said, no, 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 not me. All of us, we prostrate before the true God and creator of the world. So he brought this recognition to creation. Creation naturally had this gravitated naturally because of the Helen Vehested to Avodah Zarah, to the forces of nature, which they considered Adam to be the greatest, possessing intelligence and so on. No, he said, he immediately enlightened the world, creation, that there's a creator. And ever since then, that's the mission. And every Jew has to affect revelation in the world. To non-Jews, to Adam Arishan was the founder of all the humanity. His guf belongs to humanity. His neshama, Eden. So where do we get the koyach to do this? From our own neshama. Our body taka is part of Bereshis body likim helen v'hester, but the neshama is not. Moishe Kosov ner avaya, the flame, the candle of a God is nishmas adam, the soul of man. Which is why we light yahrzeit candles and so on. Candles when we daven for the part of the Neshamas Yisrael nikroim v'shem ner avaya Eden. Neshamas Yisrael are called the flame of Hashem. Just like the physical flame illuminates darkness, so to Eden through their avodah, draw down Shem Havaya, divine revelation down here, to illuminate the darkness of the world. But Prat Yisrael said in more detail now, in Iksiv, another pasuk in Shmuel. The pasuk says, "Ka'aton neidi havaya," you are my flame, O God. Uksiv, another pasuk says, "Kineir mitzvah," that mitzvahs are compared to a flame. So we have three associations with the flame: the neshama, you, and mitzvahs. They're all called flame. Vinyan Bazesa, how is that? You see, he's asking how this is so. The Indian is how is it that the person is able to illuminate the world to revealing the godliness that's in his own soul? That's the first pasuk we quoted. Ner havaya nishmas adam. God's flame is what? Is man's, is the yit neshama. How does he do that? The other psukim now are brought to bear, to complete and empower the shlichus. There has to be the empowerment from above. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, as the Gemara says, if not for God helping a person, he would not be able to overcome his Yetzer Hara. And that's reflected, that's expressed in the second pasuk we quoted, which is our Inyan. The Aton Leili Avai, you are my flame Avai. Now, how does God give it? That's the third pasuk. They are mitzvahs. How does God give us the empowerment? Through what's the agency through which we get the power to transform the world? That's mitzvahs. That's the third pasuk he quoted. That a mitzvah is a flame, the candle of God. But clear, the three psukim. Yes, the first pasuk says that the avodah is to reveal our neshama, which is a part of Hashem. We need an empowerment from Hashem. That's the second pasuk. Atanedi. And how does it happen? They're mitzvah through Torah mitzvahs. Like days in Nasa, and this through Torah through mitzvahs. This is how Yidden transform the darkness into light. So what we're saying is that heaven gives the ability, the power for avodah. Aval avodah, but actually transform the darkness of the world. That's through Eden. Well, Yidei, summarizing what we're saying now, Yidei Klolas Haveda, the Kiyam mitzvahs through mitzvahs. Mitzvahs in general, they address the physical world. And what level of the physical world? Klippas noiga. That level of klippa that is possible to elevate. Better word for that. Muksha means fitting. Kosher, the word kosher means fitting. Fitting to what? To eat, to consume, but it means fitting to elevate. These are all the pure and permissible things. Shenasis mitzvahs maisis, which all of mitzvahs maisis are done, they're all done with things which are permissible. The only exception is the ketores, but overall, there's one element there that's not kosher. The mushka, but chelbana. But everything else, that's the exception, it's the 11th thing. But everything else has to be, all mitzvahs have to be done with that which is permissible to eat. Klafat film. We learn this from the part of the film. The Torah says, Asher samti beficha, in reference, which I placed in your mouth, in reference to the mitzvah of tefillin. We learn from here, this is the Gemara, only that which you're allowed to eat can you use to make tefillin. That principle applies to all mitzvahs. The whole Torah is compared to tefillin. The Gemara says Kedushin. And the conclusion is the Gemara says in Shabbos, it's referring there to the Mishkan, but it refers to in general, the whole debate there about the hides that was used to cover the Mishkan, the tachash, kosher animal, not a kosher animal. The conclusion is that overall, the only thing that was made permissible, husha, fitting, ready for the service of heaven is that which is pure and you're allowed to consume, that it's that which is mutter and toher. So that's what mitzvahs do. Mitzvahs address not the level of absolute concealment in the world, the lower level of klippah, but mitzvahs elevate. That's a conclusion here. The higher klippas noiga, transforming that darkness, which has a glimmer of light, or a potential glimmer, potential light to begin with, mitzvahs elevate that level of darkness. But the world is a darker place than that, than just permissible, pure things. Eis dalit. And so therefore there's another avodah, not just transforming darkness to light, but bitterness to sweetness. Darkness to light, he said, exists in the highest madregas, Shem Elikim, Shem Havaya. It's part of the natural world. So it conceals godliness, but doesn't defy godliness. It doesn't rebel against God. It's not a state of rebellion, defiance, and impurity and bitterness. That's not what cheshech is. Bitterness, something is already a corruption. I know, so there's another avodah of bitterness to sweetness. I know, Shama Yisapek L'Mosur. Yisapek L'Mosur, that the bitterness be transformed to sweetness. And what's that avodah? They're not mitzvahs per se, but they're rather, that's the avodah of teshuvah. Shal yodas doinis nastek ezochis, to which the higher level of teshuvah transforms the deliberate transgression to merits. What does this mean? To explain how we're able to transform bitterness to sweetness. Dine Isa Betanya, the Alter brings in Tanya in Perek Chavov, the theme of which is Simcha. Everybody knows Maimar Azal, the statement of our sages in the Masechta Brachos, which says, the Kashem Shemevarach Ala Toivar, just like you make a blessing on when good things happen, you have to make a bracha when tragedy, when bad things happen. Baruch Daina Emes and so on. Atoiva Meitiv. Or Pirsha Gemara, and the Gemara explains that what is this Chazal saying? They're not simply telling us an instruction that you have to make a bracha. You're going to make a bracha, then you're in the same nusach of the bracha. No, it's beyond that. The kavan is not that you make the same text applies to both. So the good on good news he says ateva metiv, and absurd Yisrois he says no. What's the bracha? Similar bracha. Elo, so it's not the nusach.
What
Yeah.
similar bracha? What similar bracha is he referring to?
What?
What exactly is he referring to? Which bracha is he referring to? Baruch Dayan Emes?
Yeah. It's not. That's not the bracha. No, it's even more than that. So if a parent dies, there's also the bracha of the Yerusha. There's always the blessing in there, in the very death itself. No. Yeah, it's Teva Meitiv. Toiv is overt good, and Meitiv is not. Yeah. So the Gemara, so he's saying, therefore, that the pshat is not simply you make the same nusach habracha, ella lekabuli besimcha, that the way he receives the news has to be the same. To receive the news besimcha, k'may simcha satay vanidis vaniglis, just like a revealed and open good. Ki gam zolatayva, this is also for the good. The difference is, rakshain and niglis vanidis lein the boss, you don't see it physically. Ki mi alma diskasya, it's not just death, it's any tragedy. Loss of financial loss, etc. Health in yonim. Kimyalma discussion, but it comes from a hidden world. Higher than the revealed revelation of godliness. It comes from a hidden revelation. This is the Oitzer. Shuvavke. Alma disgalia is the letters Vavke. Mishem Avaya Baruch Hu. But Alma discussion, the hidden, the deeper, the transcendent worlds, or Yudke, the higher letters of Hashem's name, Yudke. And that's where this comes from. It comes down here in a concealed way because it comes from a concealed level. Concealed from Ishtalshalas, from creation. That's the L'maylim didn't catch, the Helam, the concealment within God beyond revelation. And therefore it translates down here in this world in a concealed way. But Bepnimis, it comes from even a higher place within Hashem. So that Rebbe is saying, the Gemara explains that making this bracha is not just the same nusach, but with the same joy that you make a bracha for revealed good. Let's continue. Roy Hai Madreges is going to say Omdam. However, here we're talking about this level we're describing right now is in a way person's attitude that he receives what's going on, even though overtly it's painful, but he receives it with joy, knowing that it's really bepnimius, all God's love. It comes in a concealed way. An example about Chassidus, I don't know if it applies exactly here, is when a parent disciplines a child. So for the child, the discipline, what are they getting? They're getting something that's painful. They're being shunned, or there's some kind of disciplinary measure. But be'emes is coming from a deeper place because the parent really cares. It's easy to parent a child when the kid's cute and loving. When the kid is obnoxious, and you still remain involved and you guide the child, which has to be in a disciplinary way, rather than just say, forget this, leave the kid to his own device and ignore the child. So not ignoring the child and being involved even then is actually come from a deeper place, even though for the kid's perspective, it's painful. And you're hurting me. And it's not fair. So it's really a higher place. It becomes from a concealed place, even within the father, within the parent. It's not overt love. It's a gvuradika love, which is deeper than classic love. So what are we saying now? So when a person receives it that way, how does the child, arrive at receiving this besimcha? There's a cute story. One of the Getter Rebbes, I think it was the Chedush Yarim. So when he was a child, the first Getter Rebbe, I think it was with him. When he was a child, he was once learning with a friend, Chavrusa, all night, learning together. And the next morning he slept in a little bit. They learned all night. He lay down, Mama said, whatever. Slept a couple of hours. Woke up a bit late than the usual time. So he was reprimanded by his father, and I think even strongly, like he gave him even a patch. So his friend is witness to all of this. And then he says to him afterwards, why didn't you tell your father that we were learning all night and we barely slept anything at all? So he said, what? And passed an opportunity to get from my father such deep love? So this is all again. So this is I'll show you this, the level we're speaking now. Adishim is boinen that the yid thinks into. What's the source of what I'm experiencing down here, which is painful? But what's the source above? On the contrary, it's very deep. It's a hidden good. From the hidden worlds. So with that attitude, it changes his attitude. As in accepted with joy. But the Rebbe is not satisfied with this avodah because lamata b'peil mamish in the basar is a hipach hatoiv. But down here to the physical eye, it's not good. So this is not the tachlis avodah. To accept this the pain and understand it comes from a high place. It's still painful. For the guf, it's still painful. So therefore, there's a higher level. Like explains in Tanya, Simin Yudal Vaskil Chabina. When a person has this emunah, what's the emunah? This faith, this trust. In brackets, he defines it. It's a medrash. No evil comes from God, comes from above. V'akoil toiv, and all is good. We're going to start a new shir in a minute, which you'll be able to follow well. And all is good. Gam begoloi, I'm sorry, it's just not grasped because it's so great and so good. So when a person has such an emunah, here comes the clincher, that actually transforms things down here and makes it good in a revealed way. Explains the Rebbe. With this faith that he believes, that this which appears bad, it's the whole life force here is from this lofty good. Good morning, guys. We're going to wrap up here. With this faith, what is he doing? Listen carefully. I think it's coming another level even. What happens is that the bad becomes absorbed and elevated. This this what appears to be bad, in the good, and you can see that it's good even here. Okay, we'll continue Be'ez Hashem on Monday. I'll be out of town, but we'll do it. Be'ez Hashem, I'll let you know. We'll do it on Zoom, Be'ez Hashem. Very beautiful coming. This is a very, very important maamar I have to tell you. Everybody has their peckle. Everybody has their challenge. And certainly the fellow next to you has a challenge. So we're getting here tremendous koyach, insight, and brach and power to transform it. Not just accept it, that's the first level, but to actually transform it. Okay, we'll continue the Maimon, Be'ezrat Hashem.
Thank you, Rabbi.